For many people, perhaps for you, that is perhaps the hardest gospel in the whole of the Bible. It is easy, isn't it, to love our friends, hate our enemies? It's what we just sort of naturally do. It's probably part of our fallen nature. But it is not what we are commanded to do. And you'll notice from the first reading, this is not just Jesus making this up. This goes all the way back to Torah, where God is telling us how best to live. Love your enemies. Well, let's just suppose that you want to get serious about this. I was wondering in the few minutes I have if I could offer you some suggestions to get started. It's not easy, of course. Lots of people might not even want you to do this. They want you to hate your enemy like they hate those same people. And so you might take a little flack for this. I don't know. But if you want to get serious about it, just a few things that might help. These are things that have helped me, suggestions that have been given to me. Some I do better than others. I'm sure we all do this imperfectly, but I think we're at least called to give it our best shot. So what can you do? Well, I would encourage you first to avoid thinking of people that you have trouble loving, whether that's individuals or groups. Try not to think of them as the enemy. It's a war metaphor, and if you think back, those of you that know any kind of history, what do you do in war? You do everything you can to dehumanize the other side, because it's easy then to kill them, because they're not human. And the same thing is true with us. We tend now to do it by labeling. But see, as soon as you say to a group or an individual, or like you want to categorize bishops, and as soon as you say, well, he's a liberal or he's conservative, in some way you have masked the fact that that's a human being. You sort of dehumanize them in just a little way, and then of course you can use all sorts of names and labels and ways to do that more and more and more, and it makes it very easy to hate. Harder to hate someone you really know. And so maybe that's a first step. Just be careful how we think of these other people. Avoid those who want you to think of a group or an individual as an enemy. You got to appreciate the fact Jesus is telling us you need to love your enemy. Who else is telling you that? How many role models do you have in your life that are doing this? If you're at all on the news or something, or on social media, you are just pounded by people that are basically saying to you, love your friends, hate those people. And if we hear that message over and over and over and over again, of course we'll do it. I mean, it's just sort of, what else would we do? And so it may be a good strategy to, with some of those channels, some of those people, maybe we just need to turn them off. One of the best sources of news I get for church news, Catholic news, if you will, it is part of their editorial policy not to use the words liberal or conservative. I find that very helpful. I just find that really helpful, because then I'm reading about a given bishop and they tell me something about the bishop, and that's what I need to know. I don't need their label. I don't need them to tell me who to like and who not to like. You might ask yourself, as you're thinking about these people, what is more important, the issue or the person? Parents, I don't know if anybody's ever told you about the parent test. Your teenage son, say, or daughter, calls you up and says, Mom, Dad, I've been in a car wreck. That's the test. What is your answer? Because if first thing comes out of your mouth, you say, is the car all right? I'm afraid you would have not done as well as you should have on the test. And we need to be careful about that. You would never do that, I hope, to your sons and daughters, because, of course, your main priority is are you okay? And that's terrific, and we need to keep that in mind when we're thinking about these people that disagree with us, even though they may be very wrong. It doesn't matter. We need to make sure we first think of them. Scripture reminded us, Jesus had a fun way of saying it. God causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust. the sun to shine on both of us. Might be helpful to remind ourselves that we don't often know the whole story. I mean, yeah, we know people's conclusions, but we don't know how they got to those conclusions. There may be some story in their background that has influenced them to come to some conclusion, maybe an erroneous conclusion, but still, it's not that they're evil people. It's just that however they grew up, if you will, their life stories have led them to some different conclusions. And we need to know that story, because if we don't listen to them and know something about them, how would we ever help them? Otherwise, it just becomes a shouting match. I don't know, maybe you've been in those when you were in second grade out on the playground, or, at a pickup baseball game. He's out. No, he's not. He's out. Yeah, no. What do you accomplish? But sometimes it's helpful when someone says to you that they offer an opinion that you don't think is right. Maybe the thing to do, rather than turn on the play button on the script because you know what to tell them, maybe the thing to do is to look at them and say, that's interesting. Can you tell me how you came to that conclusion? Maybe that would start a conversation. And one of the best ways to love, a good way to love an enemy, is to have a conversation. And finally, I would just suggest you might want to be specific. Sometimes these suggestions I offer, and I do for myself, they're still kind of general. And sometimes maybe the best thing to do is to think of a particular person that I have trouble loving, or to think of a group that I really don't particularly like. And then ask myself, what is it? What specific thing could I do to demonstrate some love to these people? And then in that moment, especially if you think of it in an attitude of prayer, hopefully the good Lord will put something on your heart. Maybe if it's an individual, maybe it's just something as simple as sending, I don't know, Happy Ash Wednesday card. I don't know. But, just acknowledging them in some way. Just offering them one little bit of kindness. There are people that will say to you, oh, you shouldn't do that. You are aiding and abetting the enemy. Back to the war metaphor. But you're not. And if they think that, let them think that. Jesus wants us to love other people. And I would just offer you one final thought. What do you really want to do? I mean, really, do you enjoy hating? I mean, does it actually bring life into you? You watch the news, say, or something, and you're getting upset. Your blood pressure is going up. You're tempted to throw something at the screen. I don't know. It really, you enjoy this? You get up in the morning, it was like, oh, can't wait to get mad. I don't know. I just think really all of us know. We'd love people to agree with us, absolutely. We love people, especially in moral issues, to agree with us. But we're human beings. We're going to differ. And wouldn't it be so much better if we just found some way to, we have those disagreements and we find some way to talk about it. But wouldn't it be so much better if we could just find ways not to hate, but to love? Love our neighbor, which is all of us. The people we like, the people that are easy to like, and the people that aren't. That's what Jesus is calling us to do. And I hope, in some way, small way, you get a chance to do that today.